Hi, my name is Noor and this is Simplify Homeschool. Today I am going to talk about competitions. So, my son participated in a robotics competition last week. Actually, my sons, both of them participated in the competition. And then next week we have something else coming up. And this is the season when most competitions happen around this time in the spring season. So, I had put down some points which really helped me understand what should be my attitude as a parent. So, before I even start talking, let me just put it out there that I'm an ordinary mom and I don't have any background in education. I've just been homeschooling for I think 5 or 6 years at the most. And these are just my thoughts. So you don't have to take it seriously. I mean, if there's anything of benefit, take it. If it's not, just leave it. And if you have something to add to this discussion, I would love to hear from you. It's played on my mind for quite a bit. So let's get started. So, what good lies in competitions? I know it's so you have two kinds of people. Some people think that competition itself is like a bad thing, or it gets too much, or it's excessive, and it's like a negative thing. And then on the other side, you have people who are extremely aggressive when it comes to competitions. They are extremely invested in winning. So I thought about it this way. So I personally think that competitions inherently are not bad. They're just an opportunity. Okay? So a competition gives us like an opportunity to explore a different side of us. So normally in our regular schedule, we may not be able to get up and do things like focus on one task and try to improvise yourself on that in that area competition associated with it. Then we may put like go an extra mile and really commit to it and work hard and probably see explore a different side of us. Like I remember from my own childhood that there are a lot of things that I discovered in myself because of the competitions that we used to have at our school. I mean, I would get up and like do recitation, for example, or like I did debate and I wasn't good at most of them, but I improvised that. Like after like participating a couple of times, it would be like an opportunity to get away from the regular um, things that we would do and focus on something else and work in a team, coming out of your comfort zone, sort of. So I think it's a great opportunity to get to explore a different side of you. I also think it's a great feedback system. So if it's a healthy kind of a competitive environment, you get feedback on which areas you're good at, and you get to identify the areas you're weak in, and it helps you improvise them. So for example, like the first time I did like a poetry recitation, I think I was in second grade, and I just went there and I was completely blank. I couldn't utter a word from my mouth, and it was really embarrassing. But the next year, the following year, I participated again, and at that time, I was able to, there was a song like "Do a Dear." I sang that, and I was fine. So, it helped me overcome that stage fright, and I grew as a person. So I think that's a good thing, and that feedback helps you. You just come out of your comfort zone and discover something about yourself, and you can take that feedback and work on it. So that's another good thing about it. Apart from that, I think it's a life experience. It gives you a taste of what real life is like. I don't think competition is a non-existent reality. It exists in everything that adults do. We are competing for resources. We are competing for opportunities. We are competing in the business world, in the job market, in the world of education. I mean, everywhere there is competition. And to deny that and say that you don't have to well and thrive and survive is far from reality. So I think it gives you a glimpse of what the real world looks like, but obviously it has to be age appropriate. Aggressive, excessive competition is never a good thing. And highly competitive environments where the value of the outcome is placed only on winning is extremely bad. So I'm not saying that it should be like that, but in general, competitions, it has the potential to boost your self confidence. So when you take up something and you do it and you do well, and then, so next time you're less afraid to take up something new. You kind of start believing in yourself and you see that, okay, hard work does pay off. And it's a good thing to work hard and try. So that's another good point. Um, I was even looking at what is the bad or the ugly side of competitions. So, I mean, excessive emphasis on winning is a harmful thing, and giving the message to the student that winning is more important than anything else is a bad thing. Pressure, extreme pressure to win is extremely harmful. I mean, all of these things are bad. Okay? Now, I want you to think about these things for a minute. All the points that I mentioned, which are negative about competitions, they depend on the mentors and the parents. Almost all of them can be reversed if the parent or the mentors or the nature of the competition is different. So, as a parent, if I know that this competition inherently is valuing the winning more than the hard work or the sincerity of the student, then I can walk away from it, right? Or not putting pressure or placing more importance on the winning. All of these things are under my control or under the mentor's control. So, what does it tell me? So, competitions inherently are not bad and they can be a great tool, but there can be competitions which are placing too much emphasis and value. The outcome itself places a lot of value on just the mere winning and not the effort put in. Then I simply need to stay away from such a competition. On the other hand, how I interact with my child, what signals am I giving him or her, is far more important than how the competition is put together. I will prove this to you in a minute by drawing a graph, but just go back and think for a minute. Any competition that you have participated in, what was more important to you at that time? Were there factors around you that were pushing you and forcing you to succeed? Or was it something intrinsic in you? I can tell you from my own experience that my parents were never the pushy kinds. They were never expecting, they were not even expecting me to participate in anything. So it gave me the freedom. Whatever I did, whatever competitions I did, it was out of my own volition. So it was my thing. So I was failing, I was doing well, I was not doing so well. Whatever was happening was my own experience. It was my own growth. And they have really shaped me well. In fact, when I was considering homeschooling, the number one question I had on my mind was, how am I going to fulfill this need for, exposing them to competitions? Because it has had such a positive influence on me. It's really been beneficial to me. Even though I come from a very competitive environment, I grew up in a country where, it's like the survival of the fittest. But that was in the academic world, but I'm talking more about the extracurriculars. In the extracurricular world, the competitions that existed when I was doing school have really shaped me in a positive way. So I think competitions inherently are not bad. You have to choose the competition wisely. And as a parent, you have to figure out what signals you want to give your child. Now, let me go back and show you something else. Now, take a look at this. I drew this to help you understand what signals does a child get and what do they learn when they participate in a competition. Okay? So, all things considered, let's say that this line on this side, these two quadrants represent winning. The outcome is winning. Okay? And on this side, the child has lost in the competition. They didn't win. Okay? On the top shows positive effort, like lots of effort. Okay? And the bottom two quadrants represent there was less effort from the child. Okay? So let's consider the first quadrant right here. In this case, the child put a lot of effort and they also won. What is the message this child is receiving? This child gets the message that hard work pays off. If they put effort into something, they will get a positive outcome. And it will probably boost their confidence to take up something else and go in, uncharted territory and try things out. So that's one outcome. This is another outcome. This is quadrant number 2. In this case, the child put a lot of effort, but they lost. Okay? There could be several reasons why this happens. Maybe you were not able to express your idea well, if it's a speech-related program where you worked hard, but you were just unable to express your thoughts very well. Or maybe it was a sports competition. You worked hard, you prepared yourself, but it was not your day. Maybe you were not feeling well, or maybe it wasn't it wasn't your day, it wasn't your moment. You didn't get any opportunity to showcase your talent. In that case, you lost. But what lesson is the child learning here? Outcome is not in our hand. We can work hard and hope for the best, but sometimes you lose. That's just a reality of life. Even though this is an unfavorable outcome, it teaches a very big life lesson that sometimes the outcome is not in our hand. In case you have some skills lacking in you, which kind of put you at a disadvantage, you can build on that feedback. Like it happened with me. There were some competitions I participated in, and I realized that this is not my strongest area. But hey, I gave it a shot. I did my best, and I'm happy that I did my best, and I did okay. And if not, maybe I can try next time again. So it's not such a bad outcome. It's an unfavorable outcome, but if the child is mentally in the right place, it can be a great life lesson. This is the third quadrant, where the child won, but they did not put a lot of effort. This is sadly not a good outcome, because what the message they're getting is, oh, I won, even though I did not work hard. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe working hard is not very important. I won. But you know what? If their win is not being exaggerated, and if the value of the competition was not placed too much on the winning, but more on the effort, then they would know that they did not do well. So again, here the onus lies on the competition itself. If by fluke they won, if the overall value from the parents and the mentors and the competition itself, the value of the outcome was placed on the effort, then even if, let's say, they won or they had a positive outcome, something within them should bother them and tell them that, no, maybe I didn't do good enough to deserve this. But anyways, this is another lesson, and this is probably the tricky one. Now the fourth quadrant, where you put less effort and you lost. In this case, you would probably get the message that, okay, if I don't work hard enough, I lose. You know what? I deserve it because I did not work hard in the first place. So maybe next time I should work harder and I should do better than this. Okay? So this is another outcome that happens if you participate in a competition. So this was a general scenario. What is the possible feedback you get from a competition? What is the takeaway from a competition to a child? I mean, I'm talking on the subconscious level. What is the indirect message they're getting? Now I want to talk about what should the parents' behavior be like? What should be our attitude towards how we deal with the competition, what are the indirect signals that we give, and how much they matter. Okay, so I'm just going to take one scenario here. Let's say that we are one of those parents who are extremely invested in the outcome of winning. We are so excessively invested in this that we will make sure that the child puts effort and they win. And why does this happen? I am going to get to that too. Why is there a tendency that we do that? And what should we do and what should we be aware of to prevent this from happening? But first, I want to explain how damaging this can be in each of the scenarios that I explained earlier. So let's go back to our first quadrant, okay, where the child has put a lot of effort and you as a parent are very invested in the winning of the child. And so you made sure that the child works hard. You do everything in your capacity to make sure that the child is working hard, is on top of his game or activity, whatever sport, competition, speech, debate, whatever you call it. You made sure that they are on top of this and you want this outcome real bad. Okay? In that case, if the child wins, so the child has worked hard and the child has also won. So you're in this quadrant. The parent is super happy. They have made you extremely, quote unquote, proud. Okay? What are the possible dangers of this? First point, you may not realize it, but you're actually feeding into their arrogance. Okay? You know those kids, that kid with the chip on his shoulder, or the kids who think too much of themselves? You might be raising one. You might be making sure that they put a lot of effort and they keep winning, and maybe they also have some talent to go with it, and usually this is the outcome. Over a period of time, it's going to be a negative thing for your kid. He may look like a super achiever, but underneath that, you're breeding insecurity. And if you are very interested in winning, okay, and if the child gets the signal that I have to put effort and please my parents, and this is the only way I can win them over, then this child is always going to be dependent on others or his own achievements to feel comfortable with their own self. They will always be looking for approval in you, or maybe after a certain point they will stop looking at you. Maybe they will look at their peers for approval, maybe somewhere else, and they will go to great lengths to get that approval. Do we really want that for our children? That's the first question. Secondly, this kid, one failure can shatter them completely, because they are so used to the winning and the parents making sure that they put the effort to win. One failure will shatter them. They have fragile egos. They look, on the surface, they look like the super confident kids, but underneath that is a lot of insecurity. And, honestly, the kid starts to feel invincible. But life, you cannot ensure they win all along their life, right? We can help them while they're young, but they have to go out in the world. They have to face the world. They have to learn things on their own. We cannot ensure a victory every time. Our whole life can be spent like that. Do we want that? We want to raise capable individuals. So this parents being invested in the winning, in this outcome, is also bad. Let's consider this scenario. In the second quadrant, the parents are extremely invested in the child winning, and they have made sure that the child puts a lot of effort, and the child also put a lot of effort, but the child lost. What do you think this kind of a child would feel? The parents' disappointment can be so demotivating in this case. They would probably feel shattered in this scenario because their hard work was of no point, because you lost. They know what is more valuable to you as a parent. So this is not favorable even in this case. Okay, there's not much of a life lesson. It can just put despair in the child's heart, actually. No one is recognizing their effort. The emphasis is on winning, and they have failed in that. And probably, they will eventually see through you. And as they grow up, probably their respect will be proportional to, how you treated them. So maybe as a kid, they will be disappointed and disheartened. But as they grow up, they'll probably build a lot of resentment against you. And, kids can see through us. They see through us all the time. They will be able to see the hypocrisy. That can be extremely bad. Okay? And it takes away the life lesson that you want them to learn from it. Now let's look at this scenario, the third quadrant. So the child has won, the parent is super happy, but they did not put a lot of effort. Since the parent or the mentor is so invested in the winning, this reinforces the idea that winning is important. Effort doesn't matter. So this is again going to give them a skewed understanding of the world, and this is not going to be good for them. Winning is more important than hard work. If we win, whether we deserve it or not, it's of no importance, no significance. So again, you're feeding in the wrong signal. You're giving them the wrong impression. Now let's say this scenario, the fourth quadrant. In this scenario, the child lost and they didn't even work hard. And, you were very invested in winning, but this child has not worked hard, and also did not put much effort, and they lost. So basically here they got what they deserved. Okay, the normal outcome should have been, the normal message should have been, okay, so you lost and you didn't work hard, so maybe you should correct that. But the parents' excessively negative reaction, the parents giving an excessively negative reaction, is going to probably shift their attention away from their own personal mistakes, which could have been a great learning opportunity. It could be a great life lesson. But you know what? Excessive disappointment in this case is going to be like a distraction from this big life lesson that they could have probably received from this experience. So all of this tells us that our reaction, our focus is of utmost importance. Why is it that it's most important? I have just proved that over here. Now I'm going to go back and talk about what should we do as parents and what is our tendency. Okay, so looking at this, I scribbled some points. This is just for me so that I can read it. But basically, I can tell you as a homeschooler, this is tricky, because anytime any competition happens, that is the time when our families will look at us and say, oh, your child does seem to be normal. He does seem to be doing well. Oh, you're doing a good job. Because most other times you're like a bad person because you decided to pull your child out of school. And this is coming from a good place. They have seen the world, right? Our relatives, our extended families, they have seen how life works. There is competition in the real world. If our child is not prepared for the real world, they have, they have reasons to worry. And as a homeschooler, you know that your children are getting prepared for the real world. But these competitions kind of become like the proving point. It becomes the point where everybody gets convinced that yes, your child knows how to speak up. Yes, your child can compete. Yes, your child can survive. And everybody will turn around and give you attention if you win, if your child wins. Okay? But don't fall in that trap. Okay? Because the moment you fall in that trap, you will want to sustain that. And there will be this implicit pressure on you to continue that. Okay? Because you know how it felt. You know the reaction that you got from everybody when your child did win. But don't fall in that trap. Let your child's experience be their own. Let them go, participate, experience, learn, come out, go, try again, come out. I mean, the winning and the losing, I showed you in those 4 quadrants. It is of what is the outcome is not important. Each of those are valid experiences of life which teach them valuable lessons. And you cannot mess it up by adding your own baggage there. I showed you in the next clip how us being very invested in the winning outcome messes up the life lessons that they can get from that. So even if you'll notice that as a homeschooler or even as a regular parent, when your children do well in competitions, you get a certain sense, like a certain high, sort of. You get this feeling that, oh, you are doing well as a parent. You are providing your child what you're supposed to provide. And you are doing them like, they are prepared for the real world or whatever the signal is. But you know what? Children are not like meant for feeding our egos. They are not to be treated as people who will go and achieve things to make us feel good about ourselves. Our self-esteem cannot come from that. Our self-esteem cannot be dependent on their achievements. That is the absolute worst thing we can signal to our children, that I feel good as a parent if you achieve. That's too much pressure to put on the child. And sometimes, it can be masked behind, I want good for you. It can be hidden. It can be hidden from us as well. So it's a very complicated thing. Now, as a parent, you want to know that you're doing a good job and you want a good feedback. That's all natural. But be wary of this, this tendency that you may have. Okay? There are some questions that I wanted to leave you with. And hopefully these will help you sit down and collect your thoughts and figure out a strategy which will help you. Like, I asked some questions to myself. Like, do I want to raise an insecure overachiever? No. Do I want to raise someone who sees his self-worth in material success more than other things? No. Do I want someone who is on the surface seemingly fine, but they have serious self-image issues? No. Is my self-esteem as a parent dependent on my child's achievements? If it is, then I am only serving myself, my ego. I'm not really serving this child or God in my case, because that's why I'm doing this in the first place. Am I taking their life experiences away from them by trying to mold it in the direction which is favorable to me? Because I showed you in the other clip that in the earlier part of this video, that whatever outcome happens, they are all valid learning experiences for them. And I do not need to be invested in pulling and making the outcome only in one direction. I just have to be a facilitator. That's it. And the last point is that I have to remember that this is their experience. I do not have to be investing myself too much in it. I just have to be a facilitator. I should give them an opportunity, and signing up for these competitions is a good idea because it gives them an opportunity. It exposes them to a different side of them, and it helps them discover something about themselves. It's an enriching life experience. It's a nice challenge, whatever it is. But me being invested in a certain outcome is a definite no-no. I should not cross the line and try to steer it in one direction or the other, no matter how tempting it is. If they come up to me and they need the help and they really want to have a favorable outcome, I'm here to help. But I'm not going to drag you in that direction. And I have seen such ugly situations where, at the soccer field, I have seen this kid who would run a little bit or attempt to kick the ball and like to make a strike. And every time he would do something, he would turn around and look at his parents on the field.
every time he would do something, a miss, if he would miss, he would go like, he would shrug and like look at them and kind of like, I'm sorry, like with this expression that I couldn't make it. It is so painful to watch that. There are times that we all fall in the trap. All we have to do is work on ourselves and set our priorities right and work hard and give our children the opportunities. Rest it's their life. We cannot control a specific outcome. So that's about it. I guess I got too passionate in this video, but again, you don't have to take all of this. I'm just a parent sharing my thoughts on this, but this is just, I'm no expert in all of this. But I hope something in this benefited you. If you have anything to add to the discussion, please leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because this is something that has puzzled me for quite some time. So thank you for watching as usual, and have a good one, and see you later.